To suspend his city manager, Dr. Moeketsi Mosola. Msimanga says he received very concerning allegations of corruption from whistleblowers that implicate Mosola and had to suspend him in order to allow free and fair investigations into the matter. Mosola's suspension has since led to a grandstanding between the DA, the EFF and the ANC in the city, resulting in Msimanga facing 2 motions of no confidence. Our reporter Patricia Visagie caught up with the mayor.
It's been a rocky period for the City of Tshwane's administration, of course, led by Mayor Msimanga here. We have been reading the reports in the media, allegations of corruption, irregular appointments, and the list is really long, and it seems like a very rigorous fight that is playing out in the public domain between the DA, ANC, and the EFF. And today, of course, the mayor took the opportunity to bring the public into his confidence, really just to put the record straight, what is really happening, and also to give clarity on some of the allegations made. So let's speak to Mayor Msimanga, and I think the highlight here goes back to the suspension of the city manager, Dr. Moeketsi Mosola. So let's start there, Mayor. That is basically the point of contention here and sensitivity that everybody's confused about. But you've highlighted that there's a lot of irregular tenders, or rather questionable tenders, that were signed off by him. Just bring us into that again.
Well, let me start off by saying that nobody has been found guilty of anything. All we did was that there's been a number of allegations that have been made relating to a number of contracts. And what we've decided to do was that we needed, and by law, we needed to make sure that we take counsel into our confidence and informing counsel of what has been alleged, and then ask for counsel whether to dismiss those allegations or for investigation to be pursued. Now, if there's an investigation to be pursued, the Systems Act is very, very clear on what needs to happen. You are then supposed to then put the official that might be involved on suspension pending the outcome of the investigation, and that's basically what we did. But what we have seen was opportunistic elements that wanted to jump on the issue as if they are the ones that discovered this. The ANC didn't discover this. By the time they already had their press conference or released the statement, we were already way in advance in terms of beginning to do the preliminary investigation on the particular matter.
If that is your point, then when exactly did you know about some of these red flags on the tenders that were signed out by Dr. Mosola? And why didn't you act immediately when you were made aware of these?
Well, I think the first thing that you need to appreciate is that in March, when the first insinuation came, we actually then did an investigation. I then took that even to afford Dr. Mosola, the natural justice. We then said let it be investigated internally. From there, it came back. He wrote to us to say, here's the process that I followed. Here are all the supporting documents. Here's the communication that have taken place between me, Treasury, between me and the DBSA. So there was nothing untoward. So we then took those, and then the allegations were then dismissed. It then resurfaced later on, and that what had been given to us, there might be something more untowards, because more people came up and said, but you're not looking at what we would want you to look at. Please look into other issues. And that's when we decided that this is not beyond just myself keeping him to account. It needs to now to be investigated further. This is why I took the decision to take it to council and to get council to approve that a further investigation needs to be put on this, so that we can then kill this thing of every weekend having newspapers, or every week having the media reporting of this or that irregularity. But if you're able to then put everything and get an investigation done onto the whole matter, you're able to then get to the bottom of what is really happened or what is happening, and then deal with it.
Now, when the additional information came forward that obviously convinced you that maybe you should delve deeper into the matter, you should suspend him, did you give him time to actually provide you with reasons why you should not suspend him? And why didn't you make those reasons public in the interest of transparency if he did write to you?
Well, and this is exactly why I'm saying there's nobody who's been found guilty here. What we are now sitting with is a situation where council only took the resolution to of intention to suspend last week Wednesday. So he was given 7 days to say why he shouldn't be suspended. He's not suspended, why he shouldn't be suspended, and by law he's got 7 days in which to write back to us to say these are the reasons why I shouldn't be suspended. Council needs to then take that decision to say we are happy with the reasons that you have given us, or we are not happy and therefore we continue with the suspension. So the report is very, very clear. Nobody's found guilty. We are calling for an investigation onto the particular matter. And if you're calling for investigation where a senior officials are involved, you now need to subject it to a process in which then somebody needs to be suspended or people need to be suspended who are in senior office. But you need to give them an opportunity to respond. And council will then make that determination after the responses have been received.
And one really cannot argue against that. The law stands on that, and I agree on that. But how do you respond to some of the reports in the media that you sacrificed the city manager to save yourself?
Well, there's nobody who's sacrificing anybody. I'm saying here are allegations that are being labeled. We're putting them on the table. Nobody is being found guilty of anything. The investigation, should it proceed, will then determine if there was any wrongdoing. And if there's no wrongdoing, the city manager is cleared, the officials are being cleared, and then we move on. If there's any wrongdoing that is being found, obviously then the the investigators will then come up with recommendations on what are the steps that needs to be taken. So as things stand, there's nobody who's being sacrificed or anybody who's been found guilty. All we're asking for is, because we want to put this matter to rest, we're asking for investigation to take place.
And when you say we move on, meaning if he is found to have been involved in no wrongdoing, he keeps his position?
He has to keep his position. I mean, he can't be fired if he's been cleared. What will be the reason for his removal from office? So natural justice also dictates that should there be any or no wrongdoing that has been found, then you need to continue as you need to continue.
If the tide swings to the other side and he is found, obviously it's an obvious question that I'm asking, but just to put it on record, what then would be the action that you will take?
Well, officials need to be held to account as much as we are being held to account. So if there's any wrongdoing, then the recommendations will be adhered to the fullest, of the law. So if there is been any wrongdoing, obviously, if it's an issue of maladministration, then there's processes in terms of how you deal with maladministration. It's internal investigations that it gets referred to, or the external will refer the matter to internal investigations, which will then determine what is the sanction for internal maladministration. Yeah. If it goes beyond just the issue of internal administration, obviously then there's an external process that will now need to also unfold going forward.
Let's talk about the motion of no confidence that you will come under on Thursday. Your reactions to that?
Well, I think as the Democratic Alliance, we've always prided ourselves in terms of trying to do or doing what needs to be done. The party has, in no uncertain terms, said that they still have confidence in me, and as the multi-party that is forming this government has also indicated that they will support what we have been able to do. And therefore, if the motion passes, it passes, but we will ensure that the facts continue to be what the facts are, and we'll put whatever needs to be put to ensure that we remain in government in the city of Tshwane. I don't think Msimanga is done as yet, but it remains to be seen what happens on Thursday.
Mayor, you don't sound very convincing and confident. You sound like somebody that has already reconciled himself with the prospects of actually giving up, handing over power on Thursday. No,
not that. But if there's one thing that I've accepted, is that I'm not willing to give up my principles and the principles of the party that I represent. So if it means that we have to move out of power so that we can really retain our principle and what we stand for, so be it. We are not willing to compromise what we had promised the people of Tshwane. We are not willing to compromise what we had promised the people of South Africa and the brand that we stand for in order for us to just remain in office. So we'll continue to do what needs to be done, but then it doesn't mean that it should come at all expense. It means that we're not going to be able to then be able to face your voters in the future if you compromise what you had promised them just to stay in power.
Yeah. The other question that I really have to ask you is the allegations, rumors perhaps, that your own members are willing to actually vote against you and vote in favor of the opposition on Thursday.
Well, I think those remain rumors. As you would know, in every party, in any organization, you'll always have one or two people that, might not always agree with you. But as far as I stand here, from what the meeting that we've had yesterday as a multi-party and as a DA caucus, everybody has pledged their support to ensure that, what we had started together will complete, as one. And that is the message that we will be taking to council on Thursday.
Just lastly, you have actually challenged the ANC, specifically highlighting that the chairperson, Dr. Kgoshi Mayepa, should come forward with evidence and even lay charges if he does have proof of any wrongdoing, maladministration, corruption that has been taking place under your administration.
Well, yes, and we still repeat that. I mean, he's made frivolous accusations of the DA siphoning money to fund my premier candidacy, which is complete nonsense. We are challenging him. Instead of just calling press conferences every day and going on radios every day and spreading lies, we're challenging him to take whatever documents at his disposal to go and lay criminal charges, and ensure that the law gets to be implemented. But what we have seen so far is just political grandstanding, them jumping on an issue that we were already acting on, and therefore we are now questioning him, and we are calling him to, with the same vigor that he's jumped on these particular issues, to jump on the number of issues that we are putting on the table, including the Tshwane Wi-Fi that has been procured illegally in the first place, including the City Hall, including the same building that we find ourselves in, including a number of contracts that we had to take on review and which they have been very numb on. And we want to ensure that going forward, they have their say with the same vigor as they've been able to put on this one. I think, we've taken the wind out of their sail by ourselves putting this issue and not protecting it and not trying to hide it, but putting it on the table, and they find themselves on the back foot.
Seemingly, it seems like the ANC and the EFF are actually joining forces against you. You were actually supposed to be in a partnership with the EFF, standing against the ANC. The tide is turning. It is very evident. We've been seeing how the political game has been unfolding in the public domain. Your reaction to how perhaps the EFF seemingly is compromising your working relationship at this point?
Well, I think that will be a question that will be best answered by them as to what has changed. I don't think that in terms of how we have been conducting the relationship from day one has anything changed. We have been as consultative as we have been from day one. We have listened to reason, whether it is coming from the EFF, whether it's coming from the ANC, and it's evident how we were able to even pass the budget, as I said earlier on, that everybody voted with us on a particular budget because we brought everybody together and say, if we are about to serve the people, these are the principles that we all need to agree on. And if that has changed, certainly hasn't been changed by me.
And the EFF saying that they've lost confidence in you, yes, they still willing to work with the DA, but not you in particular.
Well, maybe they should then answer specifically why that is the case. I cannot answer what has changed. As I said, if they feel that something has changed, then they need to say what has changed. There's been mixed messages that has been coming from the EFF. One moment, Sol is a nice guy. The next moment, he's not consultative. So you never know which one is it. It will play itself out. And we're looking forward to Thursday and to see what happens on the floor.
All right, thank you so much. There you have it. Tshwane Mayor Msimanga putting the record straight and really just reacting to some of the allegations put forward by the ANC and the EFF, and also showing confidence that he is ready for whatever may happen this coming Thursday, when he will be facing a motion of no confidence in caucus, of course, tabled by the ANC and the EFF. We will also be watching closely whether perhaps the numbers on the ground will be showing that maybe some of his party members could have maybe had an influence in terms of how the voting may swing on Thursday. For now, we just have to, of course, really just monitor the developments on the grounds as this political battle unfolds here in the capital city.